This is Everything Special Needs, 1360 AM WNJC. We're going to be talking to Deborah Wallace of the Autism Cares Foundation. And while we have Deborah on the line, if you want to call in, we can conference call you in. So the line that will be open during Deborah's interview will be 856-232-7077, 232-7077. My name is Sue Schilling. This is Everything Special Needs. You can hear us every Monday night from 6 to 7 o'clock right here on 1360 AM WNJC or online at everythingspecialneeds.info. And Deborah of Autism Cares Foundation, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Sue, for having me. It's always a pleasure to chat with you.
Always a pleasure, Deborah. And this being Autism Awareness Month, what not a better time to have you on. First off, for those that are new to the program, tell us about the Autism Cares Foundation.
Definitely. Linda and Frank Cooper of Richboro, suburban Philly, were told that their son Michael, now 19, was diagnosed with autism, and they were dumbfounded like most of us. There wasn't a lot of resources. The internet wasn't, you couldn't just Google it, and they noticed that Michael, as a young boy, didn't have play dates. He didn't have friends coming over to play games and sports, and he wasn't invited to too many birthday parties. And their older son, Frankie, was enjoying a typical social life. So they sat down at their kitchen table 8-9 years ago and decided to start a nonprofit foundation, the Autism Cares Foundation. And through dedication and hard work, they've done amazing things. And my son and I started going. My son Adam is 11. He has autism, and we've enjoyed their events, sensory-friendly movies and other events since he was 3. And it's a chance to be accepted and embraced and nurtured, and the nicest group of people that you'd ever want to be with, and they really care. I mean, the care part of the name is genuine.
You know what? You brought up a great point, because, you talk about when you and our children got their diagnosis, but think back, 19 years ago, they didn't have those types of resources that we had, where we could just go on the internet and find a group or find an event. What's going on this weekend? What can we do this weekend? I mean, I can't even imagine 19 years ago what for them and for people that had getting diagnoses at that time, how different it was.
It was, and it was scary, and instead of kind of looking around dazed and confused, and, once they got over the initial shock and maybe a little grief, they decided to roll up their sleeves and, quote-unquote, rewrite the rule book. If this wasn't available, if there wasn't opportunities, then they would make them. And they've gone. Michael's now 19, and he walks into one of these many events, and he, is high fives and smiles, and doesn't matter what the functioning level, there's something for everybody, and that's very exciting.
And it's so admirable that, like you said, they took it into their own hands, rolled up their sleeves, and started a group, and it's just so many people that they've been able to help along the way. Some other things about this. What events, and I know the Autism Cares Foundation, like you said, has a variety of events for various functioning levels. What events do you have coming up?
Well, this past Saturday, the 22nd, was our big fundraising gala, and we had close to 300 guests and some volunteers. And it was just, a dinner dance and live and silent auctions and a chance to show off all the hard work and, and raise some money to keep us going. And we have our teen prom coming up on May 19th, which is at one of the local high schools, Council Rock South. And it's for teenagers and adults. Last year, a couple years ago, there was a 39-year-old woman with autism who put on a beautiful dress and got her hair and makeup done and wore a corsage, and she had never been to a prom before. And when Linda tells that story, and as I'm telling that story, I mean, for her to have that opportunity, and for the young men in their suits, and they dance, and they have a buffet, and there's a DJ, and they're doing what their typical peers get the chance to do, and it's just very heartwarming to see the families, the parents, the siblings, and get their picture taken, and a night for them to shine. So we have that coming up on May 19th. We're all excited about that. And we did an event last August, and we're going to do it again this year. You'll have to check our events calendar because I don't think the date is locked in. But Clemington Park and Splash World hosted us for a fundraiser, and it was... we were the initial people that got involved, but it was for any family with any kind of disability, autism, special needs. And the tickets were discounted, and I went around, because I do publicity for the Autism Cares Foundation, and I interviewed families from Jersey, from Pennsylvania, from all over, all the different counties, all the different areas, and they said, to be able to take my daughter or son and their siblings and everything to a water park, and even some of the nonverbal kids, the smiles were, 10 miles wide, and they were having a great time. There was a lot of volunteers. It was well organized. They closed the park for us for several hours, so it was just us and the volunteers, and Clemington Park and Splash World. I mean, I can't say enough. Margie Ford and Ben FM was the sponsor, and all the TV stations showed up, and it was just a beautiful, glorious night, and a chance for everybody to have a really good time, and the kids didn't have to wait in lines, and they could go on as many rides as they wanted. And my son had a blast. As we were walking to the car after several hours in the water and the theme park, he said, "Can we do this again tomorrow?"
That's great.
I said, no, but we'll do it again next summer. So we're excited about that partnership.
That is terrific. When you look at the areas that you serve, do you have people from various counties coming in? Do you have people from Jersey coming in? What areas do the events attract?
Well, we're a registered charity in Pennsylvania, New York, and New Jersey. And we started in Bucks County, where Linda and Frank Cooper are from. And a lot of people come from Bucks County and Montgomery County and suburban Philly and Philadelphia County, the city itself. And southern New Jersey, but every day, every week, Linda gets calls from all over Pennsylvania, and we've had an event in northern New Jersey. I mean, we need to expand because the needs are so great. I mean, 1 in 68 school-age children has been diagnosed on the autism spectrum. So, the need is great, and a lot of organizations, God love them, have one event or two events a year. And the fact we have held 1,000 events in the past 8 years, 1,000 free events. She started with 6 events nearly, 8.5 years ago, and those 1,000 means that we're up to 200 events a year now. It's mind-boggling.
It really is. If you look at the message, what is the message that your group tries to convey?
Acceptance, inclusion. If you see a child or a teenager or even an adult at a shopping center or a grocery store and the noise is too loud or the sensory overload or they're having some kind of meltdown, don't judge. Look at the parent, with a smile. I find that teachers and therapists and people who have family members on the spectrum or neighbors or other people, they can I help? Is there something I can do? Does your child need anything? I have been theme parks. I've been to grocery stores. I've been to school events where people just don't understand what's going on, and what we don't understand, we fear. And sometimes our children do things that are unusual or quirky, or, I took my son to a Broadway show, and the staff they must have been trained, because he didn't like his seat and he didn't like intermission, and we had prepared, we had snacks and we had headphones, and they made the event wonderful. They got him to calm down. A couple parents, gave me a hug, said, this must be hard for you. I mean, there's some days where it's wonderful, and some days, that it's just so challenging that you want to cry. And so just be accepting. Don't judge. I don't want to be judged that maybe I'm a bad mom. I'm doing the best I can. And, don't, if your neighbor or your friend has an autistic child, offer to go to the park with them instead of saying, why doesn't your child exercise enough?
Nice. Yeah.
Offer to make a meal for them instead of saying, why doesn't your child eat healthier? Put your money where your mouth is, and that's my message.
Amen.
The Autism Cares message is acceptance and nurturing for all children, but especially those with special needs and autism, because with that acceptance, with that love, with that nurturing, these children can thrive and soar. I mean, we had an artist, a 19-year-old artist, Mitchell Bauer from South Jersey, who's a painter and a sculptor, and now he's doing cake decorating, and he has his quirks, and he's a little shy. He's a beautiful artist. My son knows every fact about dinosaurs that you'd ever want to know. Some of these children are going to be photographers. Some of them are going to go to Silicon Valley and work for Microsoft or Google. You just, give them every opportunity to shine in whatever area they can do, and love them. It's all about love and acceptance and community support.
What age groups do your events serve?
We have different age groups. We have Bounce You events every month, and you see, 3, 4, 5 to, like 12-year-old kids. We have the teen prom. We'll do a Halloween event, and we'll do a hayride for the little kids, pumpkin and crafts, and then the older kids will have like a Halloween dance. So it's really, the whole gambit from, the little ones all the way up to, whatever age adult. And every event is for that particular age group, age appropriate. We'll do a kids movie, and then we'll do something like Superman that's a little bit for the teens or the adults. And Linda likes to stress they're safe, they're happy, they're inviting, and we take a regular event that a typical child in second grade or fifth grade or high school or whatever age, and we adapt it. Maybe the lights are a little brighter at the movies and the sound is a little less, with the music, and we try to accommodate everybody.
You're listening to Everything Special Needs, 1360 AM WNJC. Sue Schilling here with you. We are talking to Deborah Wallace of the Autism Cares Foundation, who just has a lot of wonderful events to serve those that are on the autism spectrum. And here's the question, and I posed this to the listeners at the beginning of the show, so I'm going to pose it to you here. With April being Autism Awareness Month and it dwindling down here, what is the biggest thing that you want people to be aware of?
How important connections are to children and teens and adults with autism. Just like for any typical child or adult, it builds self-esteem, it builds confidence. So you don't want the child or the adult in their room, in the den, in the basement with the iPad or the DVD or whatever electronic device of the day. You want to cut that back, and you want them to get out there into the world, and it's baby steps. I didn't take my son to the mall for a long time because, if we didn't go in the toy store, we didn't do things his way, the behaviors would act up. And then I started doing it again, with a helper or an aide or a behaviorist, because if you don't try, you're never going to, quote, unquote, stretch them. And when I interviewed Temple Grandin, she kept talking about stretching our kids. If your kid your child or your adult can pay the check and count out the change, and you have somebody at a diner or whatever who knows you that will be patient with them, do that. Find the music class, find the sports class, find the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, whatever it is, adapt it to what your child's capabilities, but get them out there and let the community know that we're here and that, we're not going away and that we're a very big, formidable group, and instead of looking askance at us and us not venturing into the community, get the community more involved. We have volunteers from, junior high, high school, college, you name it, Temple and UPenn and Council Rock, and they come out to the fitness classes and they come out to our Race for Resources in November, and they put their time in, but they put their heart into it, and they're so glad to see the individuals with autism, and I say to them all the time, because I have the privilege of interviewing everybody who's involved, because I go to so many events, like, why are you here? What have you gotten out of this? And they say, our volunteer of the year, lovely young woman, in college, she said, I'm here because I'm learning just as much from them as I am teaching them, and I have friends, and we're happy to see each other. And I've met so many young people who went into special education or became OTs or PTs or behavior therapists because they started at age 10 or 15 helping out in events. So my babysitter, who came to us as a 16-year-old girl down the block, and now has her master's in special education. She always wanted to be a teacher, but she fell in love with my son and my family, and we follow each other on Facebook. And so we can change the community by the community coming to us and all of us working together.
Okay, one last question, and then I know we have to move on here. But you have so many unbelievable events. How can someone get in contact with you to either participate in the event or be a volunteer?
They can go to our website, which is www.autismcaresfoundation.org. That's our name, autismcaresfoundation.org. And we have a Facebook page and a website. They can call the office at 215-942-2273. Again, 215-942-2273. And anybody will be happy to help them in terms of an event or volunteering or donating or getting involved. It's really changed my life. I mean, it's good for my son. It's good for me. When you're there and you're having a great day, you can get a warm hug. When you're there and you're having a bad day, you can get a warm hug. And nicest people, I feel like they're all kind of chicken soup. They're all there for us and making our lives a little bit easier and happier. And what
all right.
else we ask for?
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much, Sue. Take care.
All right, you too. You're listening to Everything Special Needs, 1360 AM WNJC.